Dublin travelled to take on the All-Ireland champions in their own backyard. Let's join Adrian Eames.
A trip to Tip for Dublin's hurlers. Dublin officials had voiced their unhappiness over the decision to fix the game at the home of the All-Ireland champions. And their misgivings were borne out as Tipperary hit the ground running. Seamus Callanan, razor sharp, won his ball and tore past Owen O'Donnell and drilled the ball to the net to put Tip 1-4 to 2 points up inside 7 minutes. 1-3 for Callanan, and the signs for Dublin were ominous. Michael Ryan had made a late switch, drafting in keeper Darren Gleeson, but he was powerless to prevent Dublin's Cian O'Sullivan finding the back of the net. 1-4 apiece after 15 minutes, but that was as good as it got for Dublin. Tipperary's response was emphatic, this time Callanan, the provider, breaking the ball for John McGrath, who swept the ball to the net. A super finish from McGrath. It was heartening for the Tip supporters to see Seamus Callanan hitting the kind of form which made him such a tour de force in 2016. Callanan dispossessing Shane Barrett before setting up John McGrath, who rippled the back of the Dublin net. Tip 3-5, Dublin 1-5. Lovely layoff and a tidy finish from McGrath of Lockmore Castleiney. And Tip continued to power on. Bonner with the spadework. A great take from Callanan before coolly stroking the ball to the net for Tip's fourth green flag of the first half. Half-time, Tipperary 4-11, Dublin 1-10. You'd have to presume that Dublin's aim was to be more competitive and win the second half, but they shipped a fifth goal within 20 seconds of the restart. Mikey Breen dispatching past Conor Dooley. Little Dooley could do, although he also made some excellent saves in a one-sided encounter. David Tracy also performed for Dublin, scoring 11 points in total, but Tipperary finished the match off with another goal. Bubbles O'Dwyer to Callanan and some composure from the Drummond Inchman before scoring. 3-11 for Callanan. Tipperary absolutely rampant. They haven't gone away, but where to now for Dublin? Full-time, Tipperary 6-26, Dublin 1-19.
They punished us. They severely punished us today. They were ruthless. They went for the jugular every time. They're a really, really good team. They're All-Ireland champions. Just naturally, very disappointed.
Those patches of that was really, really good. I wouldn't for a second get carried away with it. It's not the real deal, but it's fine for today.
My agreement with Dublin is the 3-year tournament is up today. So again, I'm probably so a bit shell shocked after that. So we'll time to reflect and see where we go from here.
All right, well, Anthony, Michael Ryan first, he says they're not getting carried away with it. What did you make it, Tip?
Yeah, it's very hard to judge. There's the Dublin challenge. When they brought it back to 1-4 each, you'd say, right, they're going to make a game of this, but the goals came easily then, and the gap came, and the Dublin heads dropped. There was no leadership really around the field. Fellas just kind of gave up. What I think Michael will like about it, and what a lot of the Tip fans around me, the platform from last year was work around the middle, half forward line, midfield. And the likes of Bonner was nearly back to his best last night in terms of that. We just see him getting a flick, keeping that ball alive. Brendan Maher really back to his best as well. Pádraig had a great game as well. So did Ronan. Ronan in between Liam Rush and Niall McMorrow here, wins a dirty ball, gives it back to Michael Breen. Now, if you can give this sort of ball to this full forward line, no one will stop him. Bubbles just onto that ball. Sure, that's a delight to watch. The skill level there. We could show you all the sexy goals, Des, and all that, but we said we wouldn't. We'd look at this stuff. And Ronan here again, driving upfield, and it breaks, and James Madden comes on to it, reads it very well. John McGrath, out of nowhere, gets the hook, ball pops up in the air. There's Dan McCormack, and that's the kind of thing that they were doing last year. I don't think, on last night's evidence, Michael is 100% happy that they're back to their best. But there were signs there, and it was a bigger game than the Westmeath game, let's face it.
I think it was a confidence rebuilder. During the week, Owen Kelly suggested maybe Seamus Callanan might be dropped for this game. The full forward line scored 5-17 between them. Seamus Callanan scored 3-11. And I think most teams are built from the defence up. I think this Tipperary team is built from the forwards back, with the work rate of Bonner at centre forward and Dan McCormack with the scoring ability inside, and then Brendan Maher drops back. So I think confidence booster, but not maybe bigger challenges ahead.
What about Dublin? It's nearly a bigger story in the week with the margin yesterday.
It was a huge margin. And, just some of the mixed messages, Des, I'd have to say, coming out of Dublin. They came out, the county board said it was an insult to send them to Thurles. What did they do about it? They went to Thurles. What sort of a protest did they make? Then they put on 17 league matches on Saturday evening at 6:30 in Dublin. That's 34 teams, officials, referees, linesmen, families, all hurling people that would go to Thurles. They couldn't go because of that. So to me, I think there's a lot of issues in Dublin hurling at the moment, and certainly you know, players not playing. Delo, you were involved. You know, hard man to replace, I'd have to say, Delo. Ger Cunningham, a very nice guy, know him very well for years, but just didn't seem to spark, and a lot of players left the panel. And maybe the charisma that Delo had was hard to follow, and lads just didn't want to play for Ger Cunningham.
Well, I mean, there's lots of fellas have charisma, but it doesn't necessarily make them good managers. I mean, you had the success. What do you make of it, given you're close to all of them, and you know Ger well as well?
I find it even difficult to talk about it, to be honest. It's sad to watch it last night. Now, I had bad days there as well, don't get me wrong. I had shocking days there. But, you know, we nearly bounced a good bit, you know, and unfortunately for Ger, it has gone kind of downhill the whole way. And just, like, I'm not going to listen out the amount of guys that could have been out there again last night, but by God, there was at least half a team that could have been out there last night that would have made a better fist of having a go at Kilkenny. And there's too many young lads in there.
Whose fault is it that so many are gone away?
I don't know.
Should the players take responsibility?
Well, I think they should. I think at the end of the day, I think the players should play. That's my own view. I played with Offaly, you played with Clare for years. From the time I was 18 till I was 33, I didn't care who was managing Offaly. I wanted to be in an Offaly jersey every day, and so did all the other lads.
I prefer to see a united stance, Michael.
Times have changed, I know.
A few lads going and not, you know, we've seen strikes and that, and we don't want to encourage that. You know, we saw the Galway thing, the Mayo thing. We don't want that. But like what we had in Dublin was a whole mix and match of things, and I don't know, it didn't work for anybody. And
there's a lot to say about my point. Times have changed. You know, there is such effort going in, and if things aren't right, if players don't feel they're right, and you're talking about some very serious hurling men. Can I just say one other thing, Des, before we finish on the hurling? To me, the biggest disgrace of the weekend was on Saturday evening, that Waterford-Kilkenny match wasn't shown on free to air in this country. I think the Sky deal is so wrong on so many levels, and it's not because I'm in RTE working for the Sunday game. My parents are at home. My father's 83 years of age, a savage hurling man. Why should he have to go to a pub? He doesn't go to the pub to watch a match. And there's people, decent, ordinary people that I call them.
Did GA say they have to maximise the money they can get?
They have enough money. There's enough money to GA. How much money do you want? What about the people that support the game all their lives? They can't watch it. I think it's disgraceful.
All right then. Well, let's remind ourselves who